So some people go to Mount Kailas and see the Kailas and say Shiva is sitting there. Very calmly. That is another image. So Trilochanam, Neelakantham, Prashantam, and Shiva is Uma Sahayam, Shiva's consort, Uma. Uma is his power of creation. Shiva Shaktya Yukto, Yadi Bhavadi Shakta Prabhavidam, Naje Devam Devo, Nakhaluk Kushala Spandidamapi, Adastwa Maradhyam, Harihara Virinchadiravi, Pranandam Stodum Vakadam, Agrudabumyo Prabhavati. So Shiva with the Shakti, he is the entire, the parents of the world, the souls of the world. So Uma Sahayam, so both the male and the female principle brought it. The androgynous, male and the female together, creating the world, Purusha and Prakriti together. So Uma Sahayam Paramesh. So instead of thinking Purusha and Prakriti is very difficult to think. Shiva and Shakti is very easy. So Shakti, the female, Shiva, is easy for the mind to understand. So Uma Sahayam Parameshwaram Prabhum, Trilochanam Neelakantam Prashantam, Dhyatva, meditate on that. So now here is an Upasya Vishay. Earlier there was no Upasya Vishay. You have to only reflect on that. Here it is Upasya. You can meditate on this form, this visual. So this visual incorporates, inscripts the entire theme which was discussed earlier. And you have to descript it later in the seat of meditation. So, Dhyatva, meditating, Munihi Gacchadi Bhudayonim. The Muni, the meditator, can reach the very source of everything. Bhudanam Yonihi Bhudayoni. The source, Yoni, the source of these Buddhas, everything. The source of everything is thought. The source of thought is Shiva. Shiva and Shakti. You reach there. Bhudayoni. Samasta Sakshim, the witness of everything, the ground of everything. Tamasa Parastad, beyond darkness, beyond ego. So, by this Uma Sahayam Parameshwara meditation, you can reach there, or you can use those words. What are the words? Ajindyam Avyaktam Ananda Rupam, Shivam Prashantam Amrudam Brahma Yonim, Tathadi Madhyanda Vihinam Ekam, Vibhum Chidananda Marubam Adbhudam, quotes those words. Or Uma Sahayam Parameshwaram Prabhum Trilochanam Neelakantam. So for all this, that lotus we already discussed, lotus of the heart. Either you imagine Shiva or you see these words, repeat those words. So once you reach that state, will I be able to live in this world? Yes, you can live in this world. Because you reach to the source, you have deeply rooted there, then you can grow and move and function in the world. Function in the world as a blissful, happy person, not as a miserable worm, which we think ourselves to be. So you can function in the world. Now he says, this state of, this experience you got is described by people in different ways. Some people call it Sabrahma, Sashiva, Sa Indraha, Saksharaha, Paramaswarad, Sa Eva Vishnuhu, Sa Pranaha, Sa Kalaha, Sa Agnihi, Sa Chandramaha. Some people call it Brahman, Brahma. Some people call it Shiva. Some people call it Indra. Indra means the shining. Some people call it Aksharam. Akshara means the immutable, changeless. Some people call it Parama, supreme. Some people call it Swarad, self-luminous. Some people call it Vishnu, all-pervasive. Vishnu. Vyapakatvat, Vishnu is all-pervasive. Some people call it Prana. Because you know, without Prana, you are not there. So Prana holds everything together. Some people call it prana. Some people call it kala, time. In time everything appears, in time everything disappears. So time, kala, ha kala, another word, kala. Some people call it Agni, the great energy. Agni, fire, energy. They give the word energy. Some people call it Chandrama. Chandrama means the mind, the moon, the mind. So you can use different words to indicate, finally point to the same truth. Whatever words you use. You can call it Allah also. You can add Allah or God, Jesus. Add all those words. Put all of them in one basket. But what is important is, do you have the experience is the question. Are you happy is the question. Are you going into, do you want to kill the other, murder the other? Or do you want to live in harmony with the other? So any state of mind which breeds intolerance is unacceptable. Any state of mind which breeds tolerance and accommodation is this state. That's a secular way of saying it. A secular way of saying it. When you have this experience, by whatever name you call it, the test of the pudding is, are you accommodating? Are you tolerant? That is the question. If you are accommodating and tolerant, call it by any name. If you are not, you are still far away from the truth. So that's why I say it can be called by any name. What matters is your deepermost experience, your inner bliss. That's what matters, not what word you use. We don't care for the words. You don't care for the images. What we care for? The experience. You may say, I am a Ganesha Upasaka, but you are shouting and screaming and fighting with everybody, then what's the point? So it is not what image you worship, what word you use. It is the quality of your experience which distinguishes you from the other people. So with this, your meditation is over. Now, when this state is achieved, how will you deal with the world? How will you deal with the people uphold different kind of philosophies? How will you deal with people who think differently? Everybody may not think the way you think, and you have to encounter them. In your house you may have to encounter. Your son may not believe all those things. How will you cope with it? Or in the workplace, you find different people. So when you encounter people who think differently, who look differently, who behave differently, how do you deal with them? That is being said in the next two slokas, mantras, which, do you have the time? Can you stay for another 5 minutes? Then I can finish that. So, because it's a continuation of this. Sa eva sarvam yad bhutam yaccha bhavyam sanadanam jnatva tam mrityumatyedi nanya pantha vimuktaye. So, sa eva sarvam. So when you reach that level of depth and look at the world unfolding in front of you, you feel a certain affinity, love, accommodation. You feel everything is me. Meaning, when you say everything is me, you love everything, you accommodate everything, you respect everything. Everything has got a place and meaning in your consciousness. That's the meaning of everything is me. Yet, sa eva sarvam. So whatever I have known about myself, that infinite blissful consciousness, everything is an expression of that. Nothing is other than that. Sa eva sarvam. Yad bhudam, what was in the past. Yad bhavyam, what shall be in the future. Everything is the same sanadanam, the same truth which I have realized. So you become a loving, caring person. That is the ultimate result. It is not that you will grow a pair of horns. When you realize Brahman, you will pair of horns or canine teeth and tail, and no, that's not the idea. The idea is you become a loving person. So, sa eva sarvam yad bhudam yaccha bhavyam sanadanam jnatva tam mrityumatyedi. Knowing this, you go beyond mrityu, fear. Mrityu means fear. You become totally fearless. Na anya pantha vimuktaye. There is no other path for liberation other than accommodating difference, not eliminating difference. When you try to eliminate difference, to homogenize everything, then you will be the loser. Then you will be living in superficial levels. The only way to be a free person is to accommodate and accept difference, dissent. So, the more you fight, the more you become like your victim, isn't it? So, accommodation is the golden rule for living a happy. Suppose the children doesn't listen to you. They have a different view, you have a different view. You want them to get up at 3 o'clock and they will get up only at 10 o'clock. You want them to study in the morning, they want to study in the late night. They want to watch TV and Western music, you want to watch Indian classical music. You want to watch your serial, they want to see National Geographic, let's say. And there is possibility. So how do you solve this issue? You have to respect that person, his needs, his desires, and intelligently create a space for both. That's the only way to live. Otherwise you can catch his throat and say either my way or all the way to the highway. You can say that. You can say that. That's not going to solve any problem. So can we create space? And sukha means creating space. Su, plenty, kha, space. Isn't it? Can we create space is the question. Dukkha means shrinking space. I have no space for everybody, anybody. So if you can create a space for difference and dissent, people who think differently, that is called freedom and moksha. So na anya pantha vimukti. Otherwise there is always fear, because other is different. He may eat me up, or I have to eat him up. I know there is only two strategies. Either I eat him up or you eat me up. So you have to create space. And continuing, sarva bhudastham atmanam sarva bhudani cha atmani sampashyan brahma paramam yadinanyena heduna. So sarva bhudastham atmanam, I see myself in everybody. They think differently. They eat differently, they dress differently, they worship differently, but I see the same spirit expressing in him in that particular way, and the same spirit expressing in me in my way. Same spirit, like electricity, expresses differently through different devices. Similarly, the same spirit expresses through different people. So it is not homogenization on the superficial level. It is discovering the unity in a very deep level and letting differences flourish on the other levels. Like a garden, many flowers, many plants. Make a garden. The one plant, doesn't make a garden. It will be a commercial garden, not a spiritual thing. So, sarva bhudastham atmanam, see myself stham, abiding, living in all beings with all their differences, without reducing them into one homogeneous entity, one homogeneous pulp. Don't do that. Let there be variety and difference. The more the merrier. So if somebody think differently, it's an interesting thing, isn't it? Everybody think the same way, it's boring, we'll be bored to death. Let people think differently, let people eat differently, let people dress differently, let people have different values, and you hold on to your value. The problem is when somebody lives differently, we doubt ourselves. Am I doing something wrong? So either I have to convert him to my faith or I have to get converted into his. That is all shows insecurity, lack of self-confidence. So sarva bhudastam atmanam, sarva bhudani cha atmani. All these varieties which manifest, called Buddhas, they all are manifestation of the same principle. But same principle is so incredibly creative. It wants to manifest in different ways. That is what creativity is all about. So you must have a comfort level with the different things, differences. Sarva bhudani cha atmani sampashyan. Seeing this, Brahma paramam yadi. You reach the supreme, you say. Nanyena heduna. Nanyena heduna. Not by any other means, not by any other way. And I think this principle will be the religion of the future. This principle. And which we have always been saying, unity in diversity. Encouraging diversity. So that you can go deep into yourself. If you create homogeneity, you cannot go deep. The more diverse, the deeper you can go. These days we talk about biodiversity, all the kind of diversities. So this is what the crux of our religion. So sarva bhudastam atmanam sarva bhudani chatmani sampashyan brahma paramam yadi nanyena heduna. By no other means can you reach the state of depth and character and stability. So sushupti kale sakale viline tamaha abhibudaha. The consciousness covered by tamas. Tamas means the ajnana vritti. Sukharupa medhi. In that state, since there are no distractions in the mind, there is a kind of happiness there. That is called Anandamaya. You are happy. Not perfectly happy, but relatively happy in the sleep state. So these are the three theaters. You play different roles. The Jagrat, Sapna and Sushupti. But then who are you? The question. You are playing the role, but who are you? That question we have already answered, isn't it? Who are you? Shiva. Ajindyam avyaktam anandarubam Shivam prashantam amrutam brahmayonim tadhadi madhyanda vihinamegam vibhum chidanandam arubam adbhudam. That's me. It is that me who play these roles. Now, you go to sleep. So once you go to sleep, why are you waking up now? You are so happy there. Why are you waking up? Punascha again. Punascha janmandara karma yogat. Sa eva jiva sobiti prabuddhaha. Puratraye kridadi yascha jivaha. Tadastu jadam sagalam vijitram. Adharamanandamakhanda yasmin layam yadi puratrayam cha. Punascha again, you go to sleep, deep sleep. Again, janmantara karma yoga. Because of the karmas you have done in the past. Janmantara, many lives. The karma again become active. As a result of the activity of the karma, association with the karma and their activation, as the karma get activated, Janmantara karma yoga. Yoga means association. Janmantara karma, past karmas, they get activated. Then sa eva jiva sobidi prabuddhaha. You wake up from sleep. And it is said Janmantara good karmas. Good karmas activated, you become wake. Good or bad karma, both karmas. Good and bad karmas, you again wake up. To enjoy, to exhaust all those karmas and acquire new karmas. So Vidhi Prabuddhaha, you wake up. Thus, Puratraye Kridadi Yascha Jiva. Thus, the Jiva is playing, acting out on different three stages of life. Puratrayam in these three theaters of life. Kridadi, play. Atman is play. Krida. Atman is play. Jivaha tatastu jadam sagalam vijitram. So these three theaters, the mind, the objective world, the mental world, and the sleep experience, all these are tatastu jadam. All these things manifest from the same self, he says. Who made the theater? Who made the theater? Who made these objects? Who made the mind? Where did the material come from? So there is an analysis from the Atman. First came Agasha, Agashad, Vayu, Vayu, Agni, Agni, Rabad, Prithvi, Prithivya, Mokshadeha, Orshadibhyo, Annam, Annat, Purusha. So by a process of evolution or appearance, the same consciousness became first Agasham, then Vayu, then Agni, then Abha, then Prithivi, then food, etc. So the Atman itself manifested as the world and then entered into it and then experiencing the world. Does it make any sense to you? So, like you build a house. After building the house, the superstructure, then the interiors and everything is ready. When the house is ready, then what will you do with that house? Tasrishtva tadeva anupravish. You enter into the house and you become a householder. Earlier you did not have a house, then you are not a householder. You are a wandering monk. Now you built a house and you entered into the house and you are enjoying the house and suffering and enjoying. Suffering because you have to pay taxes, you have to pay bills. Enjoyment because you can come and rest. Because no gain without pain. That is a law. That's a law. So if you want to have that enjoyment, you have to go through this process. So Atman, he out of himself created this network. Mind and objects and this and that, the body, etc. Then he entered into it, the mind as a reflection. Entered into the mind as a reflection. Like a sun enters into water as a reflection. Atman enters into the mind as a reflection and then shoots through the sense organs and enjoy the whole world. That's why we say it is Advaidam. There is no Dvaidam. Some people, they get stuck there. There is a world out there, there is an Atman, there is a Paramatman and all those tributaries. Some people get stuck there. But Vedanta didn't go further. And then they say it is all one Advaitam. So, Tadastu jadam sagalam vijitram adharam anandam akhanda bodham yasmin layam yadi puratrayam cha. And these three puris, theaters, their foundation is, adharam is the Atman consciousness. In the consciousness, thoughts appear. It is in consciousness that the vrittis project the world outside. Everything is the same. So adharam anandam akhanda bodham. So the basis of all this, akhanda bodham, unbroken consciousness, akhanda bodham, which you are. In you these things manifest. Yasmin layam yadi puratrayam cha. So from that standpoint, when you look at the three cities, three theaters, it is mithya, as we have seen yesterday. It is neither existent nor non-existent. That's the relationship you have. So everything is explained now. And this idea, you have to keep on munching and meditating. I have said it in a hurry. Because you are in a hurry, I am also in a hurry. So therefore we set it in a hurry, but then you, without worry, you have to keep on meditating on this. There is something to be understood by certain insight. You have to read between the lines. You have to jump between points. That's why in an ashrams, especially in the, not here, in China, I was told, the Zen monasteries, their annagraham in the kitchen. The kitchen is surrounded by a moat. A moat means a canal, a moat. 10 feet deep moat, full of water. And it is wide enough that you cannot jump. You cannot jump across. It's difficult. You will fall into the water. And kitchen you have to visit because you have to eat. Class you can avoid. That you can avoid. Kitchen you cannot avoid. You have to go and eat. So there this particular device is there, the moat around it, full of water. So how do you cannot jump also, there is no bridge. So what they have done is they put some full coconut. The coconuts are put there. Or balls. So the student is supposed to put one step on the coconut or the ball and then jump. And if you put the step, it will slip and you can fall. But if you have enough self-control, you need only a prop there. You don't need a very firm ground there, only just a prop. So you can put your feet and put enough pressure so that the coconut won't slip away from under your feet. Enough pressure. And so for that you need great self-control, muscle control. Just put enough pressure so that you can put your one foot there and then jump. So that kind of a quantum leap is necessary in understanding these things. Otherwise it's very difficult. Certain things you have to quantum leap. You have to just understand it. So Guru is trying to put things in such a way that you can experience that leap. So he says, so one has to understand from this explanation what it is all about. That you are that infinite consciousness has to be understood. Continuing. Edasmad jayade pranaha manas sarvendriyani cha dham vayur jyotirabha prithvi vishwasya dharini. I think I have already explained this, isn't it? That particular sloka I have already explained. Edasmad jayade pranaha. From this consciousness, Atman, first evolute is prana, the first impulse. Prana Shakti. So earlier it was said Akasha was born, but first there is a first impulse. That impulse manifests as Trigunas. Trigunas manifest as Akasha. So when you say Akasha, in between also some steps are there. First impulse, prana. First was prana, then mana, mind, then sarva indriyani, indriyas, then all the elements. Dham vayur jyotirabha, prithvi vishwasya dharani. So 5 elements, mind, prana, sense organs, everything was born or evolved out of this consciousness. And hence we say sarvam vishnumayam, chinmayam, everything. Continuing. Yat param brahma sarvatma vishwasya yatanam mahat sushma sushmadaram nityam tattvameva tvameva tad. Now here comes the advice. The Guru says, Yad param brahma, that supreme Brahman, sarvatma, the self in all of you, Vishwasyayatanam, the ground of everything. Everything is explained now. The Brahman explained in the Upanishad is your experience now. Your embodied experience, Atma. You are experiencing it now, which is described in the Upanishad. So Brahma Sarvatma, the self in all. Vishwasyayatanam, it supports the whole universe through the intermediary of thoughts. Ayatanam mahad. Sushma sushmataram nityam. It is eternal, ever existing, changeless, and subtler than the subtlest, beyond the causal body. Sushma sushmataram. That is why it is all pervasive. What is that? Where is that? And at this point, if you ask this question, the Guru will be frustrated. Because the Guru already explained what it is, where it is, how it is. But still, out of his infinite compassion, the Guru says, that Brahma described in the Upanishad, which is your embodied, deepermost embodied experience which you can capture through meditation, and which is the very ground of everything, ground of thoughts and the world. Sushma, Sushmataram, very subtle, eternal. What is that? Where is that? Now the Guru looks into the eyes of the student. He says, "O fool, you are that." What else can be said? As Shankara said, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja, Mudhamade. There Bhaja Govindam means realize you are Govinda. That's the meaning of Bhaja Govinda. Realize you are Govinda. You don't have to run around to see Govinda. You are Govinda. So Bhaja, realize it. Mudhamade. So Sushma Sushmadara Nityam. Tad Tvameva, you are that. Tvam eva tad. Repetition for emphasis. You are that. And when you hear that, does some spark, something sparks in your mind, something happens to your mind? Suddenly you feel something is happening to you. Because this is me. This is me. That's what we have to realize. Tattvameva, tvameva, tad. You are that. Indeed that you are. That you are, indeed you are that. Both ways, it's said. Tattvameva. So go and meditate. Go and meditate. So 3 ideas are given. It is said it is the ground of your thoughts. Very ground where thoughts. So see, where is the ground of thoughts? Thoughts project the world. So realize that as yourself. So when you realize it, what happens? What is the experiential nature of that realization? When you realize it, A, you become relaxed. B, you become happy. C, you become a loving person. D, you become a sharing person. And F, you can go on up to ABCD, you can say. And F, you become a creative person. So it is very, very relevant to your daily life. It is very relevant to your daily life. Your daily life will be enriched by this experience. So let's not say it is something unrelated to my daily life. You can irrigate your daily life from this reservoir of energy. You can channelize this reservoir of energy to irrigate your daily life and to make your life a very enriched experience. So let us not say that it is something happening somewhere and it has nothing to do with the daily life. No. Unless you bring it into daily life, the source will be cut off. You have to draw from that. The more you draw to enrich your life, the more you have it. If you don't draw, you don't get it. So you have to live. That's why Gandhi became more and more active. Gandhi is the perfect example of an Upanishad person. He became more and more active. The older he became, more active. The fag end of his life, while he was 75, 78, he was walking 16 miles a day. 16 miles a day, barefoot. Drinking coconut milk, because there is no goat milk available there. And getting dysentery. Because coconut milk, it's not used in that kind of weather, so he got dysentery also. But still he was moving. That is because he want to draw from this. You want to draw from this energy. The more you draw, the more you have it. It's like electricity. The more you draw, the more it can be generated. So the Brahman experience is for your enriching, nourishing, irrigating your daily life. So let's not have this myth that I am a Brahmajnani, I have nothing to do with the world. If you are a Brahmajnani, you have nothing to do with the world, you Brahman will be Abrahman. Your realization will be lost. So one has to be very, very active, and activity depending upon your age, and that's all okay. But you have to be active. Burn from both ends. That's what you have to do. Burn from both ends. Then the Brahmajnana becomes more deeper and life becomes so enjoyable, so energetic. So let us understand it that way. Tomorrow I'll try to finish the rest of the mantras. And you can read and come also. And when you read it, you will understand it very well. If you listen to me carefully, the rest of the slokas are homework slokas actually. It doesn't have to be done here, but still we will do it tomorrow, complete the rest of the slokas. You can take this envelope, meditation for 5 minutes. Your eyes closed and your attention between the eyebrows, mental attention. And when you focus between the eyebrows, you are also able to focus on the breath, your breathing. And when you focus on the breath, you are able to feel your heartbeat. And also the stomach heaving, the stomach going up and down. So you are focused between the eyebrows. You are able to watch your breath and feel the heartbeat and the rise and fall of the stomach. And then you experience a deep silence. Thoughts settle down.